Welcome to the Stockbridge Library's online poetry series. Our theme this season is Sparks in the Dark, and we are fortunate to have with us this afternoon poet Amanda Russell. Before I introduce Amanda officially, I do want to introduce John Gillespie, who is both the founder of this series and also will be interviewing and in conversation with our poet. John, as always, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And our poet today, Amanda Russell, is the guest editor at the Comstock Review, and her poems have appeared in Hole in the Head Review, Lily Poetry Review, and Atticus Review. She has two chapbooks in publication, Barren Years from 2019 and Processing, which is forthcoming this year. So I don't know, Amanda, is that out yet or still on its way?
It's on its way. I think maybe like August, I think.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to you. And John, as always, welcome. I will turn the program over to the two of you.
Yeah. No, thank you, Wendy, and the Stockbridge Library. Yeah, I think we're at the end of. There's only a few sparks left in the dark, Amanda. We've kind of used
up.
No, we've used up all the fireflies or whatever. I don't know. We're capturing more fireflies to have some sparks. So it's I don't know, we started in October. So what's that? 8 months ago? Yeah. So what was your reaction to the theme igniting sparks in the dark?
Well, immediately I thought of one of my favorite poems, which I would like to read.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's by Jim Harrison, and it is called, let me get there, The Man Who Looked for Sunlight. 9 days of dark, cold rain in October, some snow, 3 gales off Lake Superior, with the cabin's tin roof humming Beethoven, the woodcock weather vane whirling and thumping like a kettle drum, tree limbs crashing in the woods. At dawn, a gust made small white caps on the river. Marquette, NPR, promised sunlight on Thursday. I sit here reflecting. I've burned a whole cord of wood this week. I'm 10 years old again, sitting here, waiting for the sunlight, petting my dog Rose, sitting by the window straining for sunlight. I'm not going to drown myself in the cold, dark river, but I really would like sunlight. Finally, clouds rush by, well beyond the speed limit, and there's a glimpse of sunlight, a few seconds of sunlight, enough for today. The sunlight glistening on the wet forest and my dog sleeping by the window.
Nice.
Yeah, that's Jim Harrison, and I have like the collected one, but it's from his book Saving Daylight.
So was the daylight kind of the sparks from the dark, or
yeah, and then I was thinking that we come to poems, we gather around poems, we talk about them, we write and hope to make some kind of order out of chaos, and a lot of times, at least for me, when I'm going through something or whenever something's happening, I turn to poetry as a way of processing, as a way of letting in the light. I feel like it does that. So both the reading and the writing of poetry can do that. Yeah. I went to a group in New Hampshire one time, and it's run, I guess facilitated really is what I want to say, by a poet named L.R. Berger. And I wrote something about their gatherings because to me, it just reminded me of gathering around the campfire. Everybody's coming it's in the evening, everyone's coming from wherever they are to this library. I had to drive like 35 minutes or so to get there. And when I was there last year, it was like spring. So in New Hampshire, it still gets dark early. And I was headed there and I got to the library. It's the only thing with the lights on. And you go in there and there's a circle of chairs and there's a little handout and they're going to like just sit around and talk about these poems. And it just reminded me of sitting around a campfire. And I wrote this really to describe or to commemorate their gathering. And it's called Campfire and it's for L.R. Berger. Come sit with me around this poem. Someone built it. Someone gathered up the kindling of their memory, collected the bits ripe for burning. Someone felled the tree, dripped with sweat, got a splinter, lost a finger, or wore caution against such dangers. Someone took up their axe, blistered, splitting these lines. Someone added their fingerprints to its grain, extra growth rings, stacked just so, set ablaze. Someone anticipated our arrival, so come, let us cook upon the flame something nourishing, toss in a log of our own, light a torch to carry the spark holes in our sleeves, like new constellations against the shifted night.
Wow, that should have been our theme poem for the season.
Yeah, that really nails the theme there. That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
No, it makes me really, it makes me yearn for having kind of an in-person experience like that.
Yeah. I mean, I was sad to leave, particularly because I had just discovered that gathering and had just went for like, I think only twice I was able to attend before I moved. And I wrote the poem, I gave it to her, and she was so nice. She shared it with the group. She wrote back and wishing me to find campfires in my new home. And it was just very, very sweet. And I appreciated her appreciation, and I appreciated their group.
How many people were in the group when it finally formed?
Well, the couple times I went, I would say there were like 10 or 12 people.
Yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really nice. Nice. Good. So are there some of your own work besides Campfire? Campfire is fantastic. Are there some other poems you'd like to share with us now?
Sure, yeah, thank you. I had a lot of trouble organizing my thoughts to like put this in order, but I think I'll just read some from Barren Years, and then I'll go to the forthcoming collection, and then if we have time, I think I'll just go to some unpublished newer things. So if that sounds okay.
All good, all good.
Okay, I will just start with that. So Barren Years, this picture here is of a county road where my Aunt Sherry lives in East Texas. This is December in East Texas.
That's December?
Yes. I took this picture when I was visiting home around Christmas time. So
Nice.
yeah, very different. The first poem in the collection is called So Long. Unlike onions, perhaps some people don't grow to maturity all in one season. Maybe they share more with the clematis vine, its spurts of growth and decay, separated by periods of darkness. And yet still others seem more kin to the sweet gum tree, who continuously grows up and out and down, alternating between stages of nakedness and fullness, and taking so long, so much care to grow.
Nice.
And this collection, it centers around an event that happened in my life. I was 21. I had just gotten married, and we had a miscarriage. We miscarried twins in the second trimester, and it was shocking to me. I'd not been through anything like that. So, but this collection, it covers a 7-year period of time. So it's not all doom and gloom, I guess is what I'm trying to say with that. But it is the grieving process, and that's sort of at least
Yeah.
part of the topic, as well as communication, which will come up in a few poems from now. But this one is called Sunflowers. One of the things that helped me in my recovering through all of the things that happened was to learn gardening. And so that's what this poem is about. Sunflowers. Part 3. What is this sadness of flowers that sweeps over ridges of dirt on this crisp morning? With weary, sunken face, gravity tugs their blonde petals. Come home again into your mother's arms. Part 2. The strong trunk, green and fuzzy, rose with haste to the height of my shed, as if challenged by its mere presence. Each evening we went out to speak with them, the more majesty they stole from the sunset, small children looking up to their father. Part 1. I had a vision last winter. Our little brick house surrounded on all sides by gigantic flowers. This would help us always feel small. I drew out my plans with precision. I showed you countless times, opening my red spiral notebook with a mother's pride. Soon, my love, the dirt will thaw, and we will prepare the earth for spring.
Very nice.
And this next one is called Spinach and Broccoli. New sprouts emerge. With a burst of courage, having broken through clay, they begin reaching for sun. With my face close to the ground, my knees sinking slightly in, I think of all the things the earth eats. Were these sprouts being raised as a memorial for the dead, or as a gift for the living, recycled now and ever and unto the ages of ages? Amen. All stages of life can be seen here, at work, in the garden. With or without gloves, the earth still claims the skin, the dark under my fingernails, the ring of dirt between sleeve and glove.
Very descriptive.
Thank you. I think I'll read. Okay, I'll read I think 2 more from this.
Yeah.
Okay. Garden Talk. I felt more beautiful than I looked at that moment, standing next to the bamboo teepee trellis we made for the green beans to climb come summer. I waited for you. You would meet me here very soon to talk. We untangled so many mysteries. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Spent hours sitting in black metal folding chairs. Does it not feel strange starting over like that? During those last evenings of winter, I don't know what you mean. Since in East Texas there's something missing. No guarantee of a lasting spring. In that darkness, I extended my hand, reaching for yours, and even the chirping crickets were excited for us. For once, I recall speaking from my heart.
Yes, the chirping crickets. They're your, That's what you need. Every relationship needs some chirping crickets. Yeah, hopefully that's your kids not chirping. It's actual crickets. So
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah. No, really, we didn't even have folding like lawn chairs at that time, but we had borrowed them from my husband's parents who lived nearby, and we just kept them. We just kept them for quite a while. We're like,
yeah.
yeah, we're just gonna borrow these chairs, and then like, yeah, we would just like sit for hours and hours, and the mosquitoes come out eventually, and you have like a hood and jacket and everything just so you don't get eaten up by them. But
So
yeah,
Mike,
we
what I
did.
learned is don't let Amanda come near your house, or a picnic table or wheelbarrow will just kind of walk away. Yeah.
Yeah, I could.
All right. I'll end with with from this collection with mirages. However it happens, so be it. I'll stand here until our snow cones melt, and then longer if you want. Could we be ourselves if we were brave enough to become who we are and stop holding on to what we thought we were or should be? Wherever you want, I'll go with you, and together we can begin removing our mirages.
Very personal. They all have a very personal aspect to them. So very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me ask you this.
Mhm.
When your creative process is, obviously maybe the recent book, but what kind of, how do you kind of, work at your poetry? Is it kind of event oriented, or is there obviously there's probably no snow down there, so you can't be inspired by, I'm just wondering what inspires you to write?
Oh, well, it's a variety of things. I think I for one thing, it takes a long time. It often takes a very long time for me to write a poem. Like I might write an initial draft, and then 65 drafts later, I've got it how I want it.
There you go.
And over the course of how many ever years. And then sometimes it's easier than that. Sometimes, the words just come, but it's iterative, it's just you try this, you try this, you try this, and a lot of it is you a lot of times I feel like I have to get mad at my poems, like, to figure out kind of what they're saying to me, and to follow that.
Yeah, great. Very good. Let's see if I can mute Jill. Hey, Jill, can you mute yourself?
She did.
There we go. Good. So Amanda, go
That's
ahead.
my mom.
Oh, that's your mom? Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm happy she's
Now
here.
now we can do some poem fact verification.
Oh,
PVV,
great.
PFV, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's one good thing about poems. I don't think there's some fact checking. I think it is what it is. So
yeah. Okay, and so I think then I'll read some from processing. And I'll show you the cover since it's not here. I don't really have like the book yet, but this is the cover that it's going to be. So.
And who's that in the door?
That's me. So
That's you?
Yeah, this was one of the houses we lived in. We rented in New York, and I don't know, when I started working on this collection, I had this idea of what I wanted it to be like, and I took this picture. And then when I finished the collection, I was going through trying to find out like what what I wanted to, submit for the cover picture. And when I came across this, I was like, oh yeah. And then I thought it still fit really well. So
Yeah,
I decided to go with the original concept.
the
and
original,
just-
back to the original
yeah,
concept. I love it.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, I think I'll read from the computer.
Okay.
All right, so since I read some Jim Harrison already, I will read a poem I wrote after reading one of his longer poems, The Golden Window. And it has a quote from there in which he says, "Planes never land with the same people who boarded." So this poem is called The Reader is Listening.
Wait, say that again. Planes never land with the people that boarded.
Yes, with the same people who boarded. The reader is listening. You wrote, "Planes never land with the same people who boarded." I have been those people. Belly full of peanuts from my previous existence. Courtesy napkin tucked into a backpack. By a similar logic, it must also be true that books are never shut by the same people who crease the corners of their pages. Sitting in attention, dawn after dawn, I've noticed a breeze blowing through an airtight house simply goes around, leaving its whistle for another set of ears. Yet, here we are, no longer at arm's length, but holding hands through this metaphor of reading. Your words enter through gaps, a draft whistling throughout this silent house. You break the lines anew and move in as if holding hands could never be enough. I hear you, dressed in the fleece vest of my voice as I read aloud and stop mid-verse to unpack your words into my surroundings. Planes never land, books are never shut, poems are never written, doors are never. Tell me, can you stay a while? I'll set the table, steep some tea. Come talk with me. I'm listening.
Wow. Amazing. So I just want to make sure I got it right. Planes never land with all the people who boarded?
The same people.
Oh, the same people. Okay. Yeah.
It's almost like was it you can't step in the same river twice, you know? It's almost like that.
No, I like some of these sayings because occasionally I'll be emailing or talking with someone. I have to throw out something that'll spark someone to someone say, what does that mean? They don't land without, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. It's from his poem The Golden Window.
Yeah. Great.
This
That's a
one is
wonderful that's a wonderful poem about the relationship to the reader. I love that. That's perfect. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. I went to him, it was in April and this was like 2 years ago when I wrote this and I went to that book. And I was just like, I don't have anything to write. I don't have anything to say. I can't, I can't hear what I need to say right now. And then after reading, more of his work, that's the poem that came to me. So I feel grateful, you know.
Nice.
This one is called To Paint July. And I guess it's not in the forthcoming collection, but anyways, it's next in my document, so I'll read it. And this one, Vincent van Gogh painted 3 paintings of wheat fields towards the end of his life in like the last few months. And that's what this is about, To Paint July. In 1890, Vincent wanted to paint July. And so we see her now as she stood then, dressed in wheat fields of gold under crows, under thunder, wrapped in cloud shine, wheat swept and wet, standing high as sky reaching sky, as hope full grown, as the incarnation of light made sustenance, the daily bread of nourishment, whispering in wind, This is my body, broken, tilled, and filled before you. This is the braid of every music coursing through Mother Earth's umbilical chorus, the sun's brilliance brought to fruition through the friction of seasons. This is the living bread kneaded and risen to the height of hallelujah. July, in her dance of chemistry, in her sacred accessibility, stood open-armed. July, in her thunder of wanting, in her clouded division, in her crow wings, laying out her treasures, unboxed, unvexed, unhurried augustness. He wanted to paint July, and she stood before him, bare.
Hey, Amanda, we're kind of at a point where halfway through the program where we have people listening in to provide some comments or questions. So I think Naomi, Michael, some new people. I think Rafael and Mike have gone through this before. So, if anybody has a comment or question, just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Amanda, you just said before you read this, you go to reading, like you read Jim Harrison, you said, I can't hear what I need to say. That is a terrific line, because that describes like poetry block, or when you need to write something, but you can't hear it. I wrote that down as your quote. That's
Oh,
really
thanks.
good. I can't hear what I need to say. And I think poets we suffer from that.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Oh my God. That was really good. Yeah. Okay. Maybe somebody else has something. Okay.
Well, I'll simply say that although I used to live in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, I now live in Florida, and I'm here representing Amanda's Florida fan club. She has a following down here, and as always, just wonderful to hear.
Thanks for coming.
I'll echo that. And so there's just such richness to your work. And it's a pleasure to hear you read poems that I've heard you read before. And there's, each time there's more. It's like watching some kind of flower unfolding, or yeah. Excited for the new book. Raphael, you're muted.
That's why good
Naomi, share
that's
that
a
thing about the
prerequisite
river.
for good literature. You can read it and reread it, and it still keeps on giving. Right. Yep.
John, you want me to say what I put in the
Say that little one-liner about the river.
Amanda had mentioned the saying, you can never step in the same river twice. And I had a teacher in graduate school who would tweak that and say the same, you can never step in the river twice, which I think is very much like the plains, the same people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Board are not the same people who leave.
Mhm.
Hey, Holly. No,
Sorry
this
to be
is
late.
what's that?
Sorry to be late.
That's okay. We will not keep you after school. Normally we would do that, but we'll let you go today.
Thank you.
No, Amanda, it's great just to hear this. There is a lot of there's a real feeling sense to your poetry. The campfire, the sunflower. I don't know, maybe I'm just in this melancholy mood for the last month or so, but I feel like the poems, I feel like you're inviting me to sit in on some family experiences, and it's great. It's to me, it's very personal. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think all poets or poems do that. Yeah, you're right, John. There's something that kind of reaches out to the reader in a very personal, direct way, whereas some poems are like very closed. They're just like unto themselves, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're really good at doing that, Amanda.
Yeah, Amanda, at least the last thing I'll say right now is there's a lot of caring about relationships in your poems.
Mhm.
The listening, the holding of hands. There's just a really nice consideration, it seems like, between two people, which is nice. You kind of captured that really nicely. So
Thank you.
Just want to jump in and say that when I first heard you read a couple of years ago, Amanda, I was really struck by your use of images and language and, you know, the song-like quality. But what I experience again and again is going, I would never think to write this like that. So it's just such a gift of a different imagination. I also have a question. Can we, do you take requests?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was hoping you would read the poem. I don't remember the title, but about what the geese do on Mondays or
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course I can do that. Yeah, that's a good segue, actually.
Holly, I like
Yeah.
this. We'll start a request hour. We'll have a
Nice.
scripted show, and then we'll have just a dial-in
Yeah,
request.
the
I love this.
request
This
line
thing
is open.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so with that,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, so I believe the poem is called Preschool Pickup. And this is absolutely based on a true story of picking up my older son from preschool. We lost him today. Teacher told me at pickup time. Just wanted you to know. What happened? We were watching, we are always watching, but he wandered off, chasing after a goose. He loves to chase birds. We called the whole office to help look for him, and we found him quickly. He was fine. He didn't seem to know he'd been lost. I nod, understanding, but suddenly find my hand lacking his. Drop, smile, run fast, catch, carry to car, open door, car seat, buckle, snap, slight tug, get in front, heart thump, wipe eyes, sigh. Rewonder the facets. Can he keep the freedom of his flight-loving soul in this world of foot-heavy people? Will he emerge from childhood all grown up into himself? Is it not possible to chase feathered moments safely into tall grass? What do geese do on Thursdays? She said they lost him today. But was he? And what about the joy he finds when chasing geese?
Beautiful.
Okay,
Nice.
and Naomi, what you said about her images, that you said you would never think of it, that's like, I'm an editor with Amanda at Comstock Review, and when I'm reading poems, I'm looking for fresh and surprising images, and Amanda does that, because I read so many poems where there's no surprise, there's nothing refreshing. A poem should make you see something differently. Like I wrote down foot-heavy people. Who would think of coining that phrase, right? But it resounds, it resonates. Yeah,
absolutely, or chase feathered moments.
right, right.
There's so much in that.
Yes, so she's hitting all the criteria for good poetry.
I think it's real provocative to say he didn't know he was lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's great. And
Yeah.
as a child, you don't
Yeah.
always. No. Yeah. We all need to be more like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, Amanda, go ahead if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see. I'm sorry, I did have a hard time getting organized today. Or I
I don't know,
mean,
it's working
not
out pretty
today,
well.
like this
Working out
past
pretty
few
well for
weeks.
you. I think you're good.
Okay, thank you.
I like
Okay.
poetry.
So I think I'll follow that one with like a gratitude poem. So the month after never starting my gratitude journal, we lunch together. Ladling leftover chicken soup into bowls, he says, an average cumulus cloud weighs 550 tons. And If you reach me that bowl, I'll put it in the microwave. And so I do, and he does, and we eat. But my head climbs back into that 550-ton cloud, a vantage from which I pen page 1. For Percy Spencer, who invented the microwave. For all the farmers of old and the ones still living. For the many distant hands who made this soup possible. For the chicken who wove bones, meat, and feathers from the yellow silk of a world I'll never live in. For the Adam and Eve of chickens. Spoon in hand, I stir the tight abundance. Via carrots, onions, chicken, and celery, California high fives Peru, and Arkansas gives Florida a wave. Alliances are made across states and continents with no qualms of ideals or politics. Flavors meld into steamy sustenance. I give thanks, for I take in the whole world, taste places I have never been, benefit from the complexities of history made manifest in a single bowl.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. Mm.
And this one I wrote for my grandmother, shelling the peas. Big Mama's basket was always fuller than mine. A pile of purple eyes, staring hard as she split and slipped each pea from the hull with nothing but muscle memory. In the shade of the old oak tree, her short raven hair gleamed, marking the point where we all checked in. From a distant branch on the magnolia tree, I watched the afternoon sway its sweltering grace. Visitors came and went like gusts of wind. Laughter sprang up like color-popped bluebonnets. Down the hill, the metal barn leaned into the forest and whispered its rusted wreath of creaks. The front porch of the house was still a dream, and the deep freeze was full of popsicles. Summer beaded us all a crown of sweat, whether or not we earned it.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to capture all this stuff in the chat for you, Amanda.
This next one is called Chasing the Goose, since I already read my other goose poem.
Is this from the goose's point of view?
No, it's totally different. Well, it just has the geese in it still.
There's this little kid chasing me. Help.
Right. Hey, there you go. An email arrives from Bold, Nebraska. I no longer live in Nebraska and have never been bold, but I do like to know when it's time to plant the sacred Ponca corn. And if plans to build Keystone XL have finally been buried, and if Jane Cleave is a real person, because what would the world be like if every person were a real person? I want to tell you, there have been moments of joy. A year ago, I found a to-do list folded in the pocket of the vintage leather purse I carried when I lived in Nebraska, a time capsule from before I carried children. And the joy was not in finding the list, nor in being able to cross out any tasks accomplished, but rather in the fact that those things I had wanted to do were still things I wanted to do, and that I could, even now, step out this door, stand in the yard long enough to leave footprints, and admire the lone goose flying south, instinct etching its every arc, and trace its visage beyond the end of our dead-end street, wet hands pulling out the knot around my aproned waist, dishes left soaking in the sink.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I'll go to so when I was in New Hampshire, my neighbor, she like she would catch the monarch caterpillars and give them a safe place to make their chrysalis and then let them go free when they were ready. And this whole time, like bringing them milkweed from the fields and everything. And I got involved with that when I was there with her. And in fact, I've planted milkweed here, the native kind for this area. And I'm very excited. It sprouted like 2 days ago. I was like, yes, it was my third attempt. It was not easy to like get it to sprout. But in any case, this one is called Dressing Room at Season's End. It's for the monarch butterfly and my daughter, who's 5. When will you round the corner in your next costume? I count each day as it wanes and have counted many more than the internet said it would take. For nearly 30 times, the sun has pulled blankets over its shoulders and cast its dice upon the sky. Today, fear twists the knife within me. The chrysalis that once was green and studded with gold is still studded with gold, but the lights are off. I tuck my daughter into bed, switch low the lamp. Something in me, go outside. No jacket, no shoes. I run, drop knees into cold grass, only a phone for a flashlight. A brand new, breathing slice of the universe left her dressing room door split open. Her orange dress hems a leaf's curling edge.
Wow, so pretty.
Thanks. And I have this next poem. I have a lot of poems about moving because I've done a lot of moving. And this one is about leaving a friend. Last I saw you. Between my Diet Pepsi and your Japanese food, we leaned closer to keep our words from being swallowed by guitar solos. The top of your hair barely brushed the side of mine, and when the waiter asked, you added a request for kimchi sauce. Now, there's a recipe for bridging absence to meet need, a recipe for holding on, though Earth turns her head away from the sight of the sun. Pickling is one way to keep the unkeepable. But there was no time left to talk about that, nor did we discuss what distance does, because we sat in the M- of June, because for this minute we were together despite what's to come. A swan song, you called it. I didn't know what that was.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Now that phrase, because we sat in the M- of June, that is so unexpected, but it's gorgeous. I love that.
Mhm.
Hey,
Um,
Amanda, let's have another
yes.
little, 2-minute chat time
Okay.
before the clock runs out on us if people want. I think people are kind of just immersing comments as we go along, so maybe we don't need to stop. We can just Amanda will go organic today. I don't know why we're thinking about things like that. Normally Holly knows we're very, very scripted. There's no way to go outside the garden. No, I'm kidding. The time we're really scripted is when I'm going to stop, probably. Yeah, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So let's see. This one, so my son, when he was, gosh, I guess he was 5, when I was pregnant with my daughter. And he was having like some issues with communication and things. And we had to travel 3 hours to go see a neurologist, and he did get an autism diagnosis. And he's doing really well. But I wrote this poem and like as a way of talking about how it felt in that moment, like right after we left the neurologist office. It's called Rerouted Post-Diagnosis, Part 1. Where's the nearest pizza parlor? So he's not gonna grow out of it. We've got to find pizza. What's a neurologist know? Does he still want pizza? We know him better than she does. Pizza. Travel 3 hours for a 15-minute appointment. Cross here and turn left. She just came in and said, "There's the pizza parlor. Autism. Can we go home?" Part 1. In 3 months, we'll meet our second child, meld her infant life into the alloy of us. Part 1. There must be places. My son sitting on the floor as the doctor comes in. There definitely must be places. My son shoveling down the last of his popcorn. Places a person can go and never find. When I walked in, he didn't show interest in me, she said, and never find. He didn't look up or greet me, she said, and never find their way back home.
Powerful.
All the juxtapositions in that, the abrupt changes that set the whole, you capture your and your husband's feeling there in the situation so very well. And I've seen that poem in its other iterations. I've heard,
Yes.
but that, it certainly does it. And you've got the, the shocking diagnosis paired with the pizza, which is just amazing, works. Yeah, and the neurologist, and exactly the thoughts that you share there, what does she know? That's the first thought
Yeah.
that we have under those circumstances. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, it's really good. And I know it's gone through a lot of changes.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna read this next one, Pandemic Homeschooling with My 6-year-old son. It's in a few parts, 5 parts, short ones. Part 1. Now he calls me Miss Amanda, as if that distance is another I can take in stride, as if my mother wings could widen at whim. Part 2. I stab a needle into the pincushion. What was a tomato stuffed with sawdust is now a porcupine. He's as cuddly as a porcupine, someone once said of my son. I load a long thread into the quill. Part 3. For his first 4 years, the whole mouth of his world was sewn shut. As wordless as a porcupine, he communicated with fists instead of quills. We translated what we could and kept reaching, never quite reaching. Part 4. I sew masks to shut over his mouth, over my mouth. Between layers of scrap fabric, I place a filter to keep the germs out. Suddenly we speak less, conserve good air for breathing. Part 5. I used to think a pond shows the sky to anyone who dares see it. But a parent is not a pond. Children are not clouds, and yet we find ourselves with only ourselves to hold on to, just on this side of God's unnumbered door. Who are we, anyways, to knock on that door with open palm, so frantic?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I have one here that is going to be in the forthcoming chapbook, but I haven't read it at a reading yet. So I think I'll read it. It's called Rediscovery. I was told not to write this, not yet, that I'd have more to say years from now. But I do not need more to say. There is no someday like this day. Mark it now. When the kids leave the house, so will we. We'll go somewhere, anywhere, maybe on a walk, a long walk, a very long walk, and be gone for months. We'll walk until we've left, until we've stepped out of the roles we've spent years putting on. We'll peel them off like old skins, let them drop on sharp rocks. Tell me we'll make it to then. Tell me every evening when we meet in the kitchen and wash the last of the dishes that we are already on our way.
That is really one hell of a poem.
Yeah, who is it that told you you shouldn't write it yet? Was that your inner voice or some other voice or?
No, well, it was, to be fair, it was on an earlier version of it, like only had a few lines. And yeah, somebody I brought it to said, you'll have more to say about this years from now, you know? And I
That's like,
thought,
yeah, that's like inciting you to write it in the next 10
That's
minutes.
right. That's right.
yeah. So, well, it did take me some time because I thought, well, maybe maybe that's true, and then after a while, it's like, why would I wait? Why would I wait? And then I just wrote it.
You can come
it
back to, you can revisit it years from now. You can,
Mhm.
you can have it
Yeah.
throughout your poetry. That's so silly.
But it's
So
true,
you just,
I'm
can we
just gonna throw out there that I admire so much about Amanda, that she's writing when she has little children, because I'm someone who didn't, and I regretted it, every single day. And I came back to it when I was in my 40s, when my kids were a lot older. And I just think it's terrific, because she's, you're writing and you have little children, and that's a really tough, I know it's a really tough balance. Maybe I used it as an excuse because I was afraid, who knows, but and this poem about the roles that, we have such, we're parents, we're spouses, we're trying to be people in the world, and it's excellent, and it's ongoing. Yeah, really good.
Right, and it also captures where you are at in a moment,
Yeah,
imagining the future,
yeah.
which may or may not be the way you imagine it, but
Yeah.
it's about where you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering how soon you'll get tired if we just keep telling you, oh, you shouldn't do that yet.
That's your prompt. That's your prompt, Amanda. Yeah, you shouldn't be
Hey,
writing stuff like this.
well, you know what? I went to Ada Limon did a reading at TCU, and the last poem in her book, sorry, I'm gonna get it. Which one is it? I'm looking for it. Oh, The Hurting Kind. Oh, let me get it. She said it started as which is, I think, my favorite poem in the book, perhaps, but the end of poetry. She said it started as a list of things she was not going to write. So I think that might be, that is a good take
Right.
on it, like
Right.
maybe we should all do that, So that's what that made me think of. Okay, the next one I have is called, I want to get this. Okay, Between Faded Blazes. And so since we just had the poem about hiking, blazes are like the blazes on a hiking trail. Like on the AT, you have white
yeah.
blazes painted on the trees or the rocks, and sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. But they let you know you're on the right trail. Between Faded Blazes. Unless I scream it from this lookout, no one else would know I cut the length of your hair to the exact width of my fingers. But we know some messages can only be carried with the hands. And so you cook me breakfast. I serve you dinner. You pack your lunch. I write blackberries on every grocery list. We are the muscle of careful intention and the bone of languages we are still learning to speak. We are a cautious step after step upon loose boards and fallen branches that have hugged themselves into a bridge. We edge woods and wetlands in hurricane season. One of us in front of the other saying, "Watch these thorns, step over that board," exaggerating the movements of feet by overlifting the knees. And once in a while, or always, all around us, what a beautiful view.
Mm. Mm.
Nice.
That is like a gorgeous relationship poem. It really, really is. This is maybe the third or fourth time I've heard it and read it, and it's beautiful.
Mm.
Amanda, we got time for one more. That's
One
it.
more. Okay, that's it. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Last one. Let's end on a, oh dear. Okay, probably a short one, right? Let's read this one. I'm gonna read this one, I think, for Michael, if he's listening. Where did it go? There. All right. Joy as an alligator. What if we forgot that the average human adult can hold shut the jaws of an alligator barehanded? That jaw muscles for opening are weaker than the ones for closing for a reason. That no one expects me to go through my whole life using turn signals and telling my secrets with no added sugar. What if all this time joy has been sunning in a ditch, skin warm and rough as a cliff, hidden until you've already stepped over it, until over 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch clamp down on you, until it's your ribs that grip a quickened heart.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, thank you for an amazing hour. I think there must be about 15 one-liners here that we're grabbing onto.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
I always think maybe you should just make a poem out of all the one-liners, and it'd be a
Hey.
little chaotic,
Wow.
but it would be like, yeah.
Hey, yeah.
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 No, thank you very much. This was fantastic. And
Thanks.
so personal.
Thank you, Amanda.
I feel like we had a yeah.